Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger, and up next, what's really wrong with the Ravens? Do me a quick favor, hit like if it is your first time checking out the GM, hit subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. The GM has discovered what I believe is really wrong with the Ravens, and probably has been wrong with the Ravens for over a decade. What? Yeah. You see, we have been told that it was the offense under Greg Roman, and we need a new offensive coordinator. We believe that it was mostly injuries 2 out of the last 3 years. We believe that Lamar Jackson has not been put in the best situation. We believe that Lamar Jackson has not been given adequate talent. All those things are true. He didn't have talent or as much talent as he needed. True. He needed a fresh start with the offensive coordinator. That's true. True, we have had a ton of injuries over the last 2 years and even into this year. All those things are true. But I think what's wrong with the Baltimore Ravens in 2023 and could be true for the last decade is the Baltimore Ravens make an attempt to build their team for the AFC, but they take an NFC coaching approach. Translation: the Ravens have been an AFC North team specifically, but they've been coached and led like an NFC team. Let's go deeper. We had been marketed as a run first team, hard nosed defense over the last 5 years, 6 years this year in the Lamar Jackson era. Okay. And when we go to look at that mentality, defensive minded, run first team, well, let's look at what we really had. What dog did we have on the defense side of the ball? Only Marcus Peters. Everybody else is kind of a docile, fall in line type of dude. Good players, but no dogs. No guy with some real grittiness. You follow what I'm saying? And if you're going to be a true AFC team, specifically AFC North team, you have to have a couple of dogs on your team. Okay? Stay with me. And so when you look at the Ravens, Lamar Jackson caught the whole league on surprise in 2019 and went and won the MVP, led us to a 14-2 record, if I'm remembering correctly, but we got our heads busted in the playoffs. 2022, we won our first game. Barely, but we won it. And then we haven't done much, and we can chalk it up as injuries and things like that. But when we come into this season, right? Really, what do we see this season? We see inconsistency. We see a lack of leadership. We see a lack of focus. And we oftentimes see a lack of attention to detail and preparedness. You see, if you got some dogs on your team, they don't allow you to show up not ready for work. No matter what the coaching staff does, they don't allow you to show up not ready for work. And typically, an AFC coach who is a winner has to have a level of grittiness to him. You see that in Mike Tomlin. You see that in Bill Belichick. You see that in Sean McDermott up in Buffalo. You see that in Mike McDaniel down in Miami. You even see it right now in Antonio Pierce, who is now the leader of the Raiders. And since they got rid of Josh McDaniel and his foolishness, they've been playing hard and tough nosed football. You even see it in D'Amico Ryans, who is a first year head coach with a first year quarterback, and they smashing people. They may not be elite yet defensively, but they certainly are doing damage in the AFC. Well, why? Because they have a couple of dogs and their coach has a mentality that's suited for the AFC. John Harbaugh, unfortunately, does not have that grittiness. He's a nice guy. I like him for sure. He's a good dude, good role model, but he does not have a level of toughness, a level of being ornery, a level of getting in your behind when necessary. Translation, leadership. And then when you go to the field defensively, other than Roquan Smith, Roquan Smith will talk his stuff before the games, during the week, and then perform. But other than Roquan Smith, who's really gritty on the defense? Now Patrick Queen is a perfect match with Roquan. Roquan is a vocal leader and a on the field leader. Patrick Queen is a perfect match for him. Kyle Hamilton has a little bit of grittiness, but other than Roquan, who's really like that on defense? I'm not talking about ability to play. I'm talking about the ability to lead. You need a dog to lead. There is always in a true pack, there is always a lead dog. In a wolf pack, there is always a lead wolf leading that pack. Other than Roquan on this team, who is that guy? And when you don't have a guy on the field who can do that, both offensively and defensively, and you really need a couple of guys, usually that has to show up in the coach. And our problem is we don't have it. So what we end up doing, we end up trying to build a team suited for the AFC competition. But we don't have a dog like that. We don't have a leader like that. And that's why when we play AFC teams, we don't seem to have a fluidity to offense. Sometimes we get pushed around in the trenches. Why? Because other teams in the AFC have a couple of dogs and we don't. Look across our offensive line. Who a dog? The first time we really seen the team ride for Lamar Jackson, meaning the offensive line really ride for Lamar Jackson and go after another team when they did a late hit, was this past Sunday when the team came to Lamar Jackson's aid when he took that hit out of bounds by Mike Ford. But when have you seen us really ride for Lamar Jackson when somebody did a dirty hit or what seemed to be a late hit? You rarely ever see it. You rarely ever see it. And I really believe that's our problem. Let me show you something in schedule wins and losses, and then I'll come back and finish uh, my account. So when you take a look at the schedule can give us three main indications as it pertains to the Baltimore Ravens. Number one, when the Baltimore Ravens are facing an AFC opponent, their margin of victory shrinks drastically. The margin of victory on average is the Baltimore Ravens 22 points, the opposition 17 points, a 5-point margin of victory. Number two, when the Baltimore Ravens is facing an NFC opponent, which plays right into Lamar Jackson's overall 18-1 record against the NFC, their margin of victory this year is 35 points on average to only 11 points against NFC opponents, which means we're beating them on average by 24 points. Well, why? Are the Baltimore Ravens not the same team when playing the AFC and NFC? Well, yeah. In context, we put the same players on the field. But when it comes to the level of competition, the level of grittiness, the level of defensive mentality, the level of uh, grit, the level of uh, bruteness, right? The Baltimore Ravens don't seem to bring the same level of competitiveness against AFC opponents. And I think that that is a direct correlation to how they're being led from John Harbaugh and on down. John Harbaugh doesn't have a level of fieriness to him. John Harbaugh is not the kind of guy who's going to get in their face and demand a level of play. And truth be told, he is a Super Bowl winning coach. And so maybe he found his success in how he's been doing it. Okay. But let's be honest. To play in the AFC, to be successful in the AFC, you have to have a level of grittiness. You have to have a level of authority where you can snatch somebody by the collar. That's a figurative statement. Where you can snatch somebody by the collar and command and demand them to get their behinds in line. That's why I continue to say week after week that the Baltimore Ravens lack a leader. The Baltimore Ravens absolutely do not have a leader on the offense side of the ball. They have elite level talent. Lamar Jackson is an elite level talent. Mark Andrews, elite level talent. Zay Flowers, elite level talent. But none of those guys are a get in the face, get in your behind type guy to command guys to get on the field, perform, and make the plays they need to make. That's why when they face other competitive AFC foes, they never find a flow. And those teams that punch the Baltimore Ravens in the mouth, the Baltimore Ravens seem not to be able to get up. That's the reason why when we faced the Indianapolis Colts and we kept fooling around and fooling around and fooling around, the Indianapolis Colts pulled out a win. Because the Indianapolis Colts have a couple of dogs on defense, led by Leonard. That's why when we played the Pittsburgh Steelers and we kept fooling around in that game, they end up pulling out a victory because they have a couple of dogs on defense, led by T.J. Watt. That's why when you play uh, the what's that team's name? The Cleveland Browns, they have some trouble. Why? Because they have a couple of dogs on defense, and they have a couple of dogs on offense. But where are the Baltimore Ravens dogs? Where are their leaders? Where are those guys who are grinders? Where are those guys who are gritty? We don't have any. The only real vocal guy is Roquan Smith, and he plays for the defense. That's why the defense stands up for the most part up until this week, but that's because they had been on the field so long. I think this Baltimore Ravens team lacks a dog mentality. That's why they don't go in for the kill. That's why when they're up in many, many games this year, we should be a 10-0 team, in fact. But that's why when we're up, the fan base is nervous because it takes a dog to go in for the kill, and we don't have it. In fact, I've watched a couple of people in live streams, and I've watched the people in the live stream talk about how they're waiting on the Baltimore Ravens to kind of let go of the rope, so to speak. They're waiting on the Baltimore Ravens to lose the game versus win the game. Why? Because the fan base has built in an expectation that that the Baltimore Ravens are going to do something to cost them the game. Why? Because they don't have a dog. Well, Belanger. Um, well, what about NFC teams? Well, when you look at who's been successful over the last 5 years, a matter of fact, we can go back to 2017. There's only 3 teams, and I'm gonna give you a bonus in the NFC who've been consistently successful and ended up in the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl. If you go back and check who's been the participants, one team is the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, they made some moves and brought in some players, but they had to have a couple of dogs defensively. Who they go get? Jalen Ramsey, a dog. Who did they already have? Um, Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald is the kind of player who commands you to play along beside him. And so when you have a couple of dogs on your team, it commands. So you don't need a whole pack. There's only a couple of leaders in a pack. But you got to have a couple guys who can not only speak it, but do it. And that's why the Rams had been in the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. And then they needed to add a quarterback and an Odell Beckham. And they got the job done. Cooper Kupp is a dog. You can't take the kind of hits he takes on occasion and get right back up and go back and ball and not have that dog in them. That's why they won the Super Bowl. But been to 2 in the last 6 years. The San Francisco 49ers have been to a couple with Jimmy Garoppolo as their leader. Is Jimmy Garoppolo a dog? No. But Deebo Samuels is. Their coach is. That's why he has a dominant run game. Their GM is a dog, John Lynch. Those guys they have on defense are dogs. And that's why they can revolve um, their lineup and let guys go and bring guys in and still be successful. D'Amico Ryans was the defensive coordinator, had a dog kind of mentality. That's why the Houston Texans are doing what they're doing right now. CJ Stroud is balling, but they follow who is leading them. That's why they've had success. That's the Rams, the 49ers, and the Eagles. They got a couple of dogs. A.J. Brown is a dog. He was one before he got there. Darius Slay, Jordan Davis, a new guy. Up until this past year, Hartgrave. See, so when you go from team to team, teams who are consistently successful and end up late in the playoffs and into the Super Bowl, that's the ingredient. When we jump to the AFC and the bonus was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that's because Tom Brady is a dog. And he has some dogs with him. When we jump to the AFC over the last 6, 7 years, Tom Brady was over there, won a Super Bowl. Then he went to the NFC and won one again. Patrick Mahomes. Is Patrick Mahomes a dog? I don't know if he has that vocal mentality. I don't know if he is a rah-rah kind of guy. But Travis Kelce is a dog, even if he is dating Taylor Swift. Frank Clark was a dog. Chris Jones is one. They got a linebacker right now who is one. I can't remember his name. The running back, I can't remember. I can't call the running back's name for the Chiefs. He is one. Tyreek Hill, up until the point that he left, is one. I'm just talking about teams who have been have had some success in the AFC and gone to Super Bowls and captured them and things like that. See, I'm not counting the Cincinnati Bengals right now. They're a one-off. I'm not speaking about the Buffalo Bills because they're a one-off. Now they have a dog in Stephon Diggs, but really they hadn't had any success. They hadn't done anything. It means nothing to me to go to an AFC championship and never get the job done. But when we come all the way back to the Baltimore Ravens, that's the reason why. That's the reason why our margin of victory shrinks in the AFC. That's the reason why when we play AFC opponents, it doesn't seem like we can close deals. When you look at our record this year, our three losses come against what kind of team? AFC. Our three losses all ended in similar fashion. Late game collapses, late game turnovers. That's the ingredient. That's the reason why. And the reason why we were fooled into thinking that the Baltimore Ravens had got on track, when you look at that 3 games in a row, we played 3 straight NFC teams and we dominated them for the most part, averaging 35 points to only giving up 11 points on average. And we had thought that we had got it together, but we come back down to earth when we come back to the AFC and play AFC opponents. I had somebody tell me one time a couple of weeks back, and if this is you, by all means, shout your name out in the chat. I want to give you credit for this comment. He said that the Baltimore Ravens were the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC. And when I think about what I'm saying today, that seems to be very, very true. The Dallas Cowboys are super talented. The Dallas Cowboys have studs on offense and defense. The Dallas Cowboys can score points with the best of them. The Dallas Cowboys have some good Pro Bowl type players on both sides of the ball, but they never win. But pay attention. What teams beat the Dallas Cowboys? Think about think about what I'm saying. Which teams in the NFC? Not every team in the NFC has been successful. It's only been those three, with the caveat being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady. But which teams continually beat up on the Dallas Cowboys, regardless of how talented they are? The Philadelphia Eagles and the 49ers. Why? Because the very reason that I just explained. The Baltimore Ravens are missing a dog. Translation, a leader, both vocally and in performance. And that's why we were led to believe that they had got on track, and they had not. Because think about it. When you average 35 points for 3 weeks straight, and then your offense only puts up 17, what's the difference? That's also the reason. Pay attention to this. That's also the reason why now, and you guys know this, if you're a Ravens fan, you guys know this to be true. There has been a question of why the Ravens don't seem to always have a home field advantage when they're at home. We lost to the Colts at home. We lost to the Browns where? At home. We should have had a home field advantage. With a lead in the fourth quarter, we should have been able to close that deal at home. But why? Because we get out toughed, we get out physicaled, we get brutalized. The key word is brute. We get brutalized and we let go of the rope. And that's what's wrong with the Ravens. And until somebody lets them drop, you'll figure out what that means. Until somebody lets them drop, this will continue to be our problem. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and we're out.